and welcome to the SuperCaZt Extras. This is just a little bit of a non-uniform, just laid-back show we do here on the SuperCaZt. By the way, I am the Superfosh, the man who put the super in SuperCaZt, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, my buddy, my pal,
Steve Z, the man who put the Z in SuperCaZt.
And like I said, this is our little gift to you guys, just to kind of get to know us a little better. We're not going to necessarily review anything on this episode, so if you're new here, welcome. If you've been here and you're enjoying our content, thank you and welcome as well, because we love our old fans, we love our new fans, we love everybody, right?
Definitely. Yeah, this one is very laid back, definitely just shooting the breeze, talking about some topics that we normally don't get to in our more structured reviews, but still topics that interest us and things that we want to talk about. So I guess I want to start off just, man, hey, how's it been going? And you been listening to anything cool or watching anything cool?
Oh yeah, man, it's going good. Today, as we record this on a Saturday, my Auburn Tigers are losing again, or lost again, I should say. And so that was depressing, but otherwise, man, I've been having a pretty chill, pretty relaxing day. What about you, man? Any big plans for the day?
Not today too much. Just hung out, went to the park, did some playing with my son, and did some editing. I got our final show of October finished up. It's going to release tomorrow, so pretty excited about that. And as far as what I've been watching / listening, not really watching anything so much because our show kind of takes up a good portion of our time. And I knew last Saturday I was like, hey, I'm just going to do something not related to this show. And I was so just like, it was a high from recording, but also I was very ADD.
Yeah.
I started playing NBA 2K and I just got bored with that. I was just like, I don't have no motivation to play this. Yeah. I'm just going to watch something. And I could not decide on what to watch. I watched several things before I eventually started watching The Mighty Boosh again.
Oh, okay.
I just watched 2 episodes of that, and I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. But listening, man, it's been so much fun. Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of our Rocky Horror soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And which got me into listening to Alice Cooper a lot today. I don't know, it's the Halloween time. So I've been listening to the Alice Cooper Band. Mm-hmm. Favorite album from them is $1 Billion Babies. Just rocking out to that, singing along with that. Really great listen. I'm so glad I got into that again today.
What's your favorite Alice Cooper song, man?
It's probably weird. I like I Love the Dead a lot. It's a very messed up song, and that's what Alice Cooper's all about. He sings about messed up and weird stuff, but it's okay because it's Alice Cooper. It's not a normal person. So it's for a film, sort of.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you remember, but on the Wayne's World, for some reason, years ago, I bought both Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2 soundtrack on CD. My brother had Wayne's World 2 when we were growing up on, I think, cassette or something like that. And I remember loving the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack. Well, I wanted to track down the first movie soundtrack, and it's got the song Feed My Frankenstein on there by Alice Cooper. That is my all-time favorite Alice Cooper song.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a great performer, and my thing is he's sort of like Bowie. He picks out awesome musicians to record with him, and they generally have awesome guitar parts. That's really what I like it. I want to take that back. I think $1 Billion Babies is probably my favorite, just because it's got 2 different singers, like having like dual singing and also dual guitars. And if we're picking up fireworks right now, that's just because it's what's happening outside my window.
They're celebrating us, guys. They're just so happy that we're doing the show.
Yeah, but Alice Cooper's awesome. What about you, man? Anything watching, listening?
Well, I've been watching some stuff off and on. Been watching some Muppet Show. Love that Muppet Show with all the classic stars on there. Watched one episode the other day with Zero Mostel. Guy's so good. Speaking of Alice Cooper, watched his episode.
Oh, that's a great one. He's trying to get them to like sign their souls over.
Yeah, and but also in lieu of one of our past extras episode, I've been replaying Spider-Man PS4. So having a lot of fun with that. That game is just just so fun. It's just so fun just to spend hours swinging around New York. I mean, it's just like, it's so immersive, and you're like, I've only been swinging around for 15 minutes. No, it's been 2 hours. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I've been aching to get back into open world again. I mean, it's about that time to get back into Skyrim.
Nah, I hear you.
Probably here in a little bit. That's what I'll be playing on Saturday nights.
I watched earlier. My wife was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey game. It's a good looking game, man. That's a pretty sweet game. I think I'm gonna have to try it out here eventually.
Cool.
So that's pretty much what I've been doing, man.
Sweet. Yeah, let's get into our topic of this, extras.
Let's do it.
And this is a topic that I've been seeing a lot in the news, and I just wanted to pick your brain on it.
Sure.
And that's just the DC universe,
okay.
the DC cinematic universe, to be specific. It's been having a lot of shakeups, a lot of new news. I just want to get your thoughts about some of this new happenings and some of the stuff that's been going on. Got several questions, follow-up questions, but
sure.
Go ahead and just let it reel out here to start.
So I have been preparing for this since you presented me with this, and I think I prepared. I'll try to keep everything as brief as possible, so I won't go into too many rants. But as you can probably tell, you guys, by my stage name, as it were, I'm a huge comic book nerd fan. Like I love comics. I love Marvel and DC, but I would probably say I'd probably lean closer, actually a lot closer towards DC. But that's not, like I said, I just play Spider-Man video game. I love Spider-Man. He's great. This is just my opinion, and anything that we say is going to be just our opinions. If you guys disagree with us, agree, whatever, that's 100% great. So I'm not trying to say that my opinion's law or anything like that.
No, it's just an average Joe.
Yep.
Likes what you're talking about.
Yep. It's all fun and games. But that's one thing I want to say to start it out is comic books should be fun. Comic book movies, comic book anything should be fun. What I've seen, especially in the last few years, is there's so much animosity between the two, you know, the fans of Marvel and the fans of DC. Marvel took off, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago with Iron Man and has just been a juggernaut. And I give all the credit in the world. I have seen most of all the Marvel films, and again, have enjoyed most all of them, some more than others. To be fair, other than maybe the Nolan trilogy, DC's just not had a really big, powerful film. But they came out with some films, starting with Man of Steel, which we did a review on a couple weeks back. You guys should check that out. Which I do love, and I think it's a fantastic film. I think it was a new vision for the character of Superman, which is a main thing, him and Batman.
Yeah.
And
I remember you actually went on a rant about sort of the DC universe in that one. So
yeah, I did. And, you know, it was just a different direction. And I thought Zack Snyder knocked it out of the park. And I think that movie is a really good film. But there was so much hate for that film almost initially. There was a lot of hate. And I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, man. And again, I don't mean to go in too many rants tonight, but I really had this idea. I came up with this idea that Marvel fans were trying to sabotage this film. That people were going to use the internet to basically make this film. Now, Marvel had been so successful, and how dare DC come and ruin the party?
Well, I don't think that'd be fans doing that. I think that'd be more like, I don't know, it seems sort of conspiracy. It's sort of like those bots.
Right.
So it could be some bots either from Marvel or
Disney or whatever. Yeah.
The famous bots that promoted the Snyderverse that were like, bring the Snyder Cut. That was like half of them were bots. It was crazy.
Yeah. And I'll get into the Justice League movie here in a second. But yeah, I guess my thing is like, why can't we live in a world where people can be fans of DC and Marvel, or just DC, or just Marvel, and everybody be okay with that? Why does there have to be such? And I get it. I'm not a child. I know money's involved. I know there's a lot of stuff involved there, but I just kind of wish that we could find some middle ground somewhere, because I just hate that there's so much hate.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Twitter is a microcosm of the world.
Yes.
I remember seeing at one point like 80% of the tweets are reported like by 30% of the users.
Right.
So it doesn't represent the whole.
That's true.
Like collective of people, and it
That's
definitely
true.
doesn't represent like even all the people on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't let that bother you. I think
No, I don't.
Haters are just gonna hate, and you just like what you like, and that's what matters.
The thing. I mean, even today, going back to football, I saw something where somebody was hating on Auburn, and my initial thing was to comment and be like, because I was like, you know what, Auburn sucks this year. I'm just gonna have to let it slide, you know. But that's the thing with anything, with football, with basketball, like your sport, or even comic book movies. Like you said, I realized that there's gonna be those people that are just gonna say stuff just to rile people up, just to make people mad, and invoke a response. You know, my thing is, the reason we're doing this today, guys, is not to say one's better than the other, because that's not what I want to do. I'm not here to say DC's better than Marvel. I don't want that to be confused. What I would like to say is that if you're a Marvel fan, great. If you're a DC fan, great. If you're a fan of both, which I think you can be, because I am, that's okay too.
And to reel it back into the whole future of DC.
Let's get back there.
I guess we both agree it was sort of haphazard, the way things have gone.
It is.
They rushed their universe a little bit with mixed results. I mean, Suicide Squad in particular was infamously bad. The one that basically was cut together by a trailer company, where the director didn't even get the final say on the final cut. It's probably the depths of it, and then I guess BVS is sort of hit or miss, not so great.
If we wind it back a little bit, Iron Man came out in what, 2008, I think it was. Iron Man came out in 2008, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
That was a different time. I don't know if Marvel or Disney had plans for future movies. I don't know if it was okay. If it's successful, then we'll keep going. I haven't really heard for sure. Can you back that up, man?
I want to say it was something they were planning, because you do have the end credits scene.
True.
Where he's talking about the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
They just took their time. I mean, they started off with those first 4 movies, and I think the only one that was a major miss was the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
And set it up for the Avengers, and the Avengers is the one that really changed the game. It got everybody, this is must-watch films. Sort of like a recurring thing, and it just got really big. I would say, don't want to get into the tangent on that, but really since Endgame, they've had some troubles. So let's not say Marvel's the top of everything.
And that's what I was going to say is, if it was a plan, it was a masterful plan there at the start. And they executed it pretty brilliantly, minus, a couple of hit or misses there. Well, if you look at it from DC's point of view, they never really intended to start a universe. You had the Nolan Batman trilogy. Before that, you had the Superman Returns. We could probably spend another extras on Superman Returns, so I'm gonna try to keep this really, really brief. But I often said Superman Returns needed a sequel, but we never got that. That was almost initially scrapped after the lukewarm reviews of that film. Well, then the Nolan trilogy came out, and that was its own thing. They never mentioned any other superheroes. There was not an extended universe out there. It was just a more quote-unquote grounded Batman thing. Well, then you had the Iron Man movie come out, and then everything just sort of took off for Marvel. And Marvel's train just left the station immediately and was just on a roll. They had a plan. They had a plan that they wanted to do. They had a phase 1 plan, they had a phase 2 plan, and now we're at what? Phase 5, phase 6? I can't even say. So I have to give Marvel credit on that. They knew what they wanted to do. Kevin Feige knew what he wanted to do, and they did it. And they just did it, and they executed brilliantly. Well, DC, I think, caught wind of that and was like, hey, wait a minute, we have to do something, because, you know, that's a lot of money we're losing with all these films.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. They saw the billion-dollar movies and they're like, what? We want some of that.
And so they thought they would kind of follow the whole Dark Knight thing and make a grounded Superman as much as you can. And a lot of people were not ready for that. A lot of people wanted it to be Christopher Reeve still, and that kind of Superman. And I get it. I'm a fan of Christopher Reeve's Superman. We talked about that movie. Love that film. But so everybody was very sour, or a lot of people were very sour on Man of Steel. And thus, I think it really delayed whatever plans DC had initially with Man of Steel. Yes, they did come out with BVS a couple of years later. And I'm just going to say, we have not reviewed that film. I think that movie is underrated. I think that's actually a lot better film than people really give that credit for. So
that's your opinion.
That's just my opinion. So let's get into your questions to just kind of get some conversation going.
Yeah, so there's been some shakeups.
There has.
Some things have happened.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've... I mean, the whole thing's changed. I mean,
completely.
You look at HBO,
100%.
What's happening there, what's happening in Warner Brothers, they have new people in charge, and basically the big thing is they're trying to do course correction, because after Justice League, yeah, that was pretty much done. I mean, when you have that coming out the same month as Thor Ragnarok, and Thor Ragnarok, the third film in this trilogy, does better than your version of the Avengers, you just might as well just chalk it up as like, we're done. And that's what happened. It was a disaster. So they released a few just like standalone films that were kind of tied to it, like Aquaman and Shazam, and I guess the second Wonder Woman film, and those were all their thing. But now they're trying to bring it back. They're trying to make them more connected. I guess we should probably say there was Joker in there, and there was also the Batman. So now they're bringing it back. They have a new head of just trying to create their own cinematic thing, try to bring all the Shazam stuff, Black Adam, Wonder Woman, all that they have, and trying to make a coherent universe out of it. So then they got a new guy in. So what do you think?
Well, and I want to say one thing about the Justice League movie, because it's ironic that they brought Joss Whedon, the guy who made the Avengers. And that was something that, and again, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything like that, but it was like, is Joss Whedon trying to sabotage the DCU on his own? Because he made a horrible film.
Yeah, well, if you're going to go with that, then James Gunn's going to sabotage it too.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's why you don't go with conspiracy theories, because they're generally have no logic applied to.
But to me, the mistake was, you got to give Zack Snyder the Justice League. You got to let him finish his thing. Why? And I don't know. I've heard so many different reports of why they didn't let Zack Snyder initially just do Justice League, because he should have. You know, he was the only one that was making DC films, and decent DC films at that. Other than Patty Jenkins, who did make Wonder Woman, and I gotta give her credit.
Don't forget the Suicide Squad.
And the Suicide Squad. Now, the Joker was its own thing. It was not part of, at least to my knowledge, it was not part of this main universe. But that was something that really ticked me off, is that they bring in Joss Whedon from Marvel, and then everybody kind of cries out, and so DC was forced to let Zack Snyder come back and make his own movie.
The reason they did it was because they were trying to lighten it up. That was the big complaint.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
They were trying to make it more Marvel, and I guess there are definitely those vocal DC fans that were saying, no, we like it how we like it. So I think it's just one of those things where they were, I guess we'll chalk it up to too much studio interference. I think that's
I'll go with that.
That's kind of the big thing that we've seen so far. I mean, the fact that they're like, let's just rush into it. We got to introduce Batman. Let's introduce Doomsday. Let's do Wonder Woman. Hey, let's put a cameo with a Flash, all that stuff, all in the same film. So I just think they were trying to rush it. Same thing that Universal tried to do with the Universal monsters, where there's like, we're gonna have a Mummy movie, then we're gonna have an Invisible Man, and then Frankenstein's gonna come back. It's like, hey guys, just make one film to see if it works first. But my thing is like, I think they're doing a good job. They actually get a new studio hit in that people like. I mean, James Gunn's generally considered to be a creative guy that most people like.
I count me in, definitely.
I think his movies are kind of just mid, in my opinion. I think he rides off the coattails of just what was already there. That's just me. I think he's just kind of okay. He's definitely competent. I don't think he's a visionary like they make him out to be. But I think he's going to come in and hopefully get some good people that actually care about what they're doing and try to have some coherence to it, because that's the thing is right now their whole thing is they're just like, they've let the studio do too much interfering. And even like the whole Snyder Cut was, we're just reacting to what fans want. We're not actually have a vision. We don't have what we want. I mean, if you look at the end of that film, it has so many just teasers for films that will never be made. So it's just like, what's the point of this? It's just silly. And hopefully they can get a point to what they're doing. That's my big thing.
Well, and I think that's why that they're sort of rebooting the entire thing. That they're basically starting over from scratch, and that gives me a little hope, but it also gives me a little fear, because you can start over and that's fine, whatever. But is it going to be? Is it too little, too late? Is my thing. Is it too late to? Because you're not going to catch up to Marvel. I realize that you're not going to just create a superpower universe with one film. And I've heard a lot about Black Adam, and I actually am very interested in seeing Black Adam. And I think The Rock gives a lot of credit because he's talked about, trying to make better movies and trying to do the DC universe, as it were, justice. No pun intended. So we'll see. But what you got, man? Because I knew you wanted to ask me some questions.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with that. So that film brought back somebody. Somebody that was sidelined for a bit. Because once again, one of the studio execs did not like this guy for some reason. But it turns out that Henry Cavill and The Rock share the same agent.
Yeah.
So they went around the execs and they brought back Henry Cavill's Superman. So what do you think about him coming back? Because you said it's going to be a total reboot, but they're bringing him back. So obviously there's got to be some continuation.
Look, I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he looks the part. I think, I just... Look, they've got a TV version of Superman right now, and his name's Tyler Hoechlin or something like that. He just doesn't look like Superman to me. He looks a little short. He looks just a little smaller. And if we're talking about a comic book character, he's got to be like look at The Rock as Black Adam. The guy's muscled up. Well, Henry's done that with Superman. These guys got to look like they come off a comic book page if you're making a comic book quote unquote movie. So yeah, I think Henry's fine. I think he's a great Superman. I really do. I think he's someone that can go toe to toe with the likes of The Rock or whoever they put him in front. So yeah, I think that's a good move on DC's part for sure. Because I really don't know, unless they had somebody else in mind that could fill Superman's boots as well as Henry has. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty good, just because like we were talking about when we did that review. He has some scenes where he's really good.
Yep.
And I'd like to see that more charming side come out more in a film. Yep. I don't want to see... I don't want that moody, depressed Superman. I want the Superman that gives you the hope. Yep. Because that's what, to me, Superman's all about. He's the hope guy, and I didn't really get that for most of the Snyder films, in my opinion. So I want to see that. Here's one that's kind of once again studio interference. What do you think about the Batwoman thing?
You know what? I have not heard enough to comment on that. I know there's been a lot of, stops and starts, and the whole Flash thing kind of got in the way with Ezra Miller's situation.
Oh, I'll come back to that. That's
yeah, sure. That's cool. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, about that. What do you think? What's your opinion?
I think it's so crappy that they had this film done.
Yeah, I mean, you get Michael Keaton.
These people spent years on this.
Yeah.
Actors are like, we put in our work. And if the movie's crap, who cares?
Yeah, right.
But they just did this as a tax write-off. I mean, they could just put it out there on HBO Max right now.
Yep, they could.
And just release it. You don't have to put it in the theaters. No advertising for it. So that's what I hate about it. I don't like to see a movie that all these people worked on. Brendan Fraser in particular, he's really upset about it. And I just don't like the fact that some guy can just come in and say, yep, it's not going to be released. I don't care. It's tax write-off.
Well, I wonder if the new people will come back to it, or if it's just too little too late. I don't know.
It might be. It might not fit in their overall vision.
Yeah.
But I just hate that. I don't like to see media just get lost forever. If it's bad, it's bad. Let the people decide. You don't get to decide that.
Good point.
Yeah, but the other thing, man, just the terrible thing that is Ezra Miller.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why. So you're gonna cut this movie, but you're still gonna release the Flash movie. I don't get that.
First of all, look, nobody's perfect. Everybody's made mistakes. I'm not gonna sit here on my high horse and be like, he should have known better, blah blah blah. Well, I mean, yeah, he should have known better. If he's guilty of what he's being charged with, and he did what they say he did, then yeah, he should have known better.
Yeah, it's multiple things though.
Why you would let yourself get that bad and get caught up in that kind of crap when your career is taking off? I mean, he was just in a pretty huge couple of movies for DC and was getting his own film, and then now he's basically throwing his whole career away. I mean, again, I know what being young and stupid's all about, but you gotta make better choices. I hope he learns his lesson. I hope maybe he can salvage his career. I hope there is life for him after this, but I don't know. I think it's a sad situation for him, and I think he pretty much shot himself in the foot because. And going back to the Flash movie, I don't know why they're releasing that. I think that's a horrible move on DC's part to do that. I think I would rather see Batgirl at this point than the Flash, because all anybody's ever going to be thinking is, oh, this guy's a pervert. This guy's a horrible person.
Yeah, that's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at this point, it's his character. So this one relationship, he's supposedly been having this girl since she was 12. And he's been messing with her since then, and bringing her over to shoots in London and saying, yeah, you can just stay with me. I'm going to pay for your school so that you have to do everything I say. And beating up women in bars and throwing chairs at people and supposedly starting a cult. I mean, this guy, he's got some serious issues, and I know mental health is a big thing behind it. And I don't know. He's going to have his days in court, but I just think he's kind of a rough guy, and definitely I think it's the result of being pampered and being a spoiled, rich kid. That you think you can just get away with everything. And that's the thing, is a lot of these court cases involved, he's paid off most of the people, and that's why they've dropped their charges. So it's either him or the studio, his rich parents, I don't know who. I don't like it. I think the guy he's just not somebody I would want to be friends with. And maybe he can turn it around, but I just think he's beyond repair as far as being able to play a superhero, because that's just not something that kids should look up to. Yeah,
I mean, if all this is true and he did what, like I said, if he's actually guilty of what he's being accused of, then this guy has no business being in the limelight. He has no business helming a major franchise that is the Flash. And, you know, people are just not going to turn a blind eye to that. People are not just going to ignore this kind of a thing. And for DC to try to make people do that is kind of crappy. And I would rather them just go ahead and say, okay, yeah, this movie's not going to happen. Ezra's gone. We're gonna fix that. And maybe they are. Maybe that's part of this new plan. I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions still left to be answered as far as this reboot is concerned of DC. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I agree with you. I do not think that Flash movie is as cool as it might have been, and as neat as it might have been, and as good as it might have been. I don't think it's worth it to make a buck off somebody like that. That just, you know, that doesn't sit right with me at all. Not one bit.
Yeah, and who knows? It might be all just crazy, but I mean, if you got people all around the world accusing you of crimes, there's probably some fire to that smoke. So
yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the whole Brett Favre thing, and I know that's jumping ship, but he's being accused of stealing money and this kind of thing. Of course, now he finally comes out and says, "Oh, it's not true," and I hope it isn't, because I was a huge fan of Brett Favre growing up, and for him to do what he did was kind of crappy. So
money can do weird things to people. Moral of the story.
Sure can.
I guess we're good on the DC stuff. I think we've exhausted it. Hopefully they can turn it around. As far as the Marvel front goes, I mean, just my 2 cents on that. It's kind of, I mean, they need to do some research on the law of diminishing returns. So I think that's what we're getting right now is you've oversaturated the markets with all these television shows that probably should have been movies half the time.
Oh yeah.
And now it's watered down your whole product. But it seems like that's a topic for another day.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, man, I'm a huge fan of DC, so I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that we get another really good Superman film, and you know, I'm really hoping that this Black Adam film does really, really well. So far, so good. I think a lot of people are saying it's pretty good. I think The Rock is a bankable star. I think he's good. So we'll see. I have high hopes, and my fingers are crossed for DC's future, and I guess we'll just all wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, and this topic ended up being a little bit longer than I expected, so this might be our only little bit of extras for today, but that's okay. We'll have another one coming down the pipe pretty soon, because we've neglected it the past month or so, but we've had busy schedules. We had a lot of films we had to get to, so we appreciate you guys for listening to us rant a little bit. I kind of shoot the breeze, and please stay up with us and keep track of our social media so that you don't miss a show, and hopefully you can give us some feedback. We're looking for that. We're looking for that good conversation online, so that way we can keep putting out a quality product for you guys.
And like we said, guys, this episode was just for fun. We're definitely not, experts on the whole thing, but we just wanted to talk for a little bit here, and Steve wanted to get my 2 cents on the whole DC stuff, because I am such a DC fan, and I make no apologies for that. You know, I do love Marvel stuff too, so I feel like you can love both, and it's okay. But that's, again, just our opinion. And like Steve said, we really do appreciate you guys listening to us, and would appreciate your input. What do you guys think of the whole DC shakeup? Are you guys for it? Are you guys hopeful like I am? Let us know, and just like Steve said, keep following us on Twitter at SuperCaZt with a Z. Catch us later on the next episode of the SuperCaZt.